Let's go. It's the Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show. Whitey Show.
All units stand by. Warrant is en route.
Alright guys, so I put out a poll on my YouTube page, and if you didn't know, I do that from time to time, and you got to check it out because you can vote, and that's how I decided which video for 2018 games should I review first, because these are games I didn't really get to review from 2018 all the way till now. And so you guys voted for Spider-Man 2018, PS4 Spider-Man, whatever the hell you want to call it, despite God of War being pretty close, so I'll get to that eventually. But for today, we are going to review Spider-Man 2018. Now, Insomniac is no stranger to AAA games, so they decide to pick Peter Parker and give him the game he deserves. This is Spider-Man, who's been doing it for a couple of years now, beating up bad guys, has his own rogue gallery, and trying to be a hero that we all know and love. The game opens in an excellent fashion, taking down Kingpin, and it only gets better as you go on from there. So it starts off great and just keeps going. Now, let's talk about what works in this game, because there's a lot of it. The story is one of the strongest points of the entire game. You take your time to really get to know Peter, but you also are given a good amount of time to people like MJ, May, and even Miles. And while there's some really cool throwbacks to Spidey fans who read the comics or watch the shows or the movies, I liked how much this game takes chances. The losses in this game do happen. Peter gets his ass kicked. Even though this is an older game at this point, though, I'm not going to spoil what happens, because you guys gotta really, just do it yourself, play it, and experience it. But there's plenty of excellent set pieces to boost up some of the amazing visuals, and there's also moments of just heart-hitting moments too that will make you maybe even cry. The story is definitely one of the strongest parts, even though I have some negative later about it, but it is one of the strongest parts of the game. The gameplay is a very much refined version of all the Spider-Man games that came before this one. This is definitely the most responsive and what I call the bounce combat. So that's like jumping off of enemies and bouncing from one enemy to the other, kind of like Batman and games like that, or Assassin's Creed. And you create enough combos, there's plenty in this game, and just slipping under them and kicking them in the face and then doing these badass finishers. Spider-Man 2018 does not disappoint there. It helps also that you get some gadgets in this game to spice it up, so you can like throw a little ball of web and it explodes and knocks all the foes back. That's pretty cool. And also the boss battles are mostly a blast to play, giving you some really, really great ones. My personal favorites being like Sandman and Electro and Vulture, and even Kingpin and Doc Ock. I mean, all these fights are a lot of fun. There's really only one I didn't like. So yeah, the boss battles are definitely a highlight of the game. I can't express how great it is to just swing through this wonderful looking city and fight crime. The fights are smooth and they look great. The swinging is beautiful and the designs are mostly amazing. I really like the design for MJ. Peter Parker's Spider-Man suit is the bomb in this. I actually used it a lot of the time, even though I love the other suits too. And most of the villains' designs are great as well. There's nothing really bad about the graphics, and playing a little bit of the remaster on PS5, oh my god, it's even smoother and better. It's just, this is definitely one of the best looking games on last generation, and still great today. My two negatives would probably be that the pacing can be a bit jarring. The opening hours are fantastic, but the Mr. Negative stuff, I didn't really care for that much, and he's in it for quite a bit. I'm not a fan of this villain even in the comics, and I'm not a fan of him in this game. Luckily, the game does swing back full time at the end, but the middle definitely suffers for me a little bit. Some of the story missions I didn't really care too much about. I also thought there could have been cooler side quests. Some neat ones here and there, like facing off against Taskmaster or Tombstone, that's cool. But it was just lacking in the side mission section for me. But they do fix that in the Miles game, which I could get to maybe another day. I did play that on the PS5. It was my first PS5 game. But in this, they're kind of lacking a bit. Now, listen, you probably played this game. If you haven't, what are you waiting for? This is probably top 10 maybe even top 5 games for me for PS4 generation. I mean, you have to play this game. Even if you're not a huge Spider-Man fan, it's a lot of fun. But as a Spider-Man fan, as someone who grew up with Spider-Man, loves Spider-Man, owns way too many comics of Spider-Man, this is a 9 out of 10. Definitely the best Spider-Man game, or one of the best, if not the best, superhero game I've ever played.